So I had this student who told me, I want a guy earning $1 million a year, at least. And I said, well, do you know what it's like being with a man who earns $1 million a year every single year? She was like, doesn't really matter as long as he earns $1 million a year. So in this video, I want to break down for you what it's actually like living with a man who earns $1 million a year, what it means in terms of what it's like being married to him, whether you would actually enjoy it, whether he'd be a good husband, which is really the question we want to focus on, and most importantly, whether this kind of man is the right man for you. My name is Malaika Neri. I help you meet a man you can imagine marrying and start a serious long-term relationship leading to marriage and family. If you want to find out when you're going to meet the right guy for you, when you're going to fall in love and get engaged, I recommend you grab my AI tool via the link in description. It tells you exactly when you are going to fall in love and meet the love of your life. It's based on traditional Indian astrology. Now, for centuries, Indian astrology was studied by men who were priests, men who were never going to get married, and they were giving young women advice on marriage. Didn't really make sense, and therefore, most astrology advice is really bad. But nowadays, thanks to the power of AI, which has access to millions of data points from around the world, you can input your birthday into my AI tool and it will literally spit out step-by-step information for your personal life. It will tell you when is the right moment for you to focus on your love life. So if you're really busy with work right now, or you're traveling, or one of your parents is sick, it'll tell you, hey, this is the window of time where you should put a focus on your personal life, and this is the window of time when you should focus on your career. It'll tell you when you're going to meet the right guy. It'll tell you how you'll meet him, what he's going to be like, so you actually recognize him. And most importantly, it'll tell you what kind of marriage you'll have with him. It is super simple and easy to use, and I've also included step-by-step instructions, so even the most tech challenged can use this tool very easily. You can use it with your own AI app of preference, maybe ChatGPT. I really like ChatGPT, or any other app. Grab it via the link below. It literally tells you when you're going to fall in love, get engaged, and get married. So let's talk about what it's actually like having a millionaire husband. This student that I had came from a very wealthy family. The men in her life, the men in her family earned $1 million+ a year. And so she had this mental framework that I want a man who earns $1 million a year. So I want to break down how you become a millionaire. And secondly, I want to break down what it means to be with a man literally earning $1 million a year. Like on his taxes, he reports $1 million a year plus one plus, I think it's 7 zeros, 6 zeros. Anyway, just Google it. And what it's like to be married to that kind of guy, and if you'd actually enjoy it. I've been around a lot of these kind of men. I've met them. Some of them have been my friends. I also follow some of them on Instagram. Since I'm a business owner, when you run a business and you earn $1 million a year, it's when the business starts to be slightly more stable. And so I'm very familiar with what it's like to earn $1 million a year and then go beyond that. So I can speak from personal experience, and I can also speak from the experience of filing my taxes every year as a business owner, and like literally how much money is your personal spending money if you're earning $1 million a year through business versus how much is your personal money through as a corporate employee. Two different things. So the vast majority of people who earn $1 million a year, and this is just in pure numbers, it's not about like volume, it's just the number of men who earn $1 million plus per year. You can do this in any country. Like money isn't confined to certain countries, but obviously men who earn $1 million a year like tend to be concentrated in certain places because that is where high income people tend to concentrate. So big cities, most men who earn $1 million plus a year will live in big cities: London, New York, LA, Mumbai, Jakarta, Bangkok, Tokyo, all very common cities for men with $1 million per year income, annual income. But you might also find them in Bali, not a big city, or like in a small mountain in Switzerland, again, not a big city. So these kind of men can be found all over the world. Geography is not an obstacle whatsoever. I have personally met men like this on the top of a mountain in Peru, like, because they liked hiking and I like hiking. So you can find these men everywhere in the world. Geography is not an obstacle. The second thing is I want to talk about first, like a little bit of background why the student wanted a guy earning $1 million a year. So most people who make $1 million a year, that they're not like, you know, the current president of the US whose parents just gave him $1 million just for being born, and like 50 million through various trusts and so forth. So if you're talking about a guy who's made his own money, what some of my students call self-made man, these people, they don't make $1 million overnight. They start on a certain path. Usually it's growing up in a family that highly prioritizes hard work and education. So I grew up with parents who really prioritized hard work and education and a focus on discipline. So I myself was that kind of child. I was a kind of child who like would do extra homework for fun. Yeah, I know I was a real weirdo, but it was like my innate discipline plus growing up in a family that prioritized hard work and education. I would not do my chores because I had to study and my parents were fine with it. And so most men who are like self-made grow up in these kind of families where they don't do chores. Like, they didn't do chores when they were students. They don't do chores now as millionaires. People who make $1 million a year don't do chores. So these are not equal partners. They don't do chores. They don't clean. They don't cook. They don't wash their own clothes. They don't go grocery shopping. Like, either they delegate or a machine does it, or they buy a service that does it. Like, they don't do chores. So these are not equal partners. They are not, like, if you're their wife, you will do the chores. End of story. Or you will do the things that a machine or a service or like an assistant cannot do, like plan the kid's birthday party. Or you will have to go and find a service that plans your kid's birthday party. They're not going to do it. So point number one, you get to having $1 million a year salary by focusing only on that. So it's like, how do I work and deliver so much value through my work that people are willing to pay me $1 million a year? Obviously, finance is a very common field where people earn $1 million a year, but the other most common field is business. And I don't have statistics on this, but I'm pretty sure that the majority of people who earn $1 million plus per year are business owners. They're not corporate individuals. So there are two categories. Now, when you're a corporate employee and you earn $1 million a year, you keep about 50% of your net income as your personal take home. So you'll pay 50% in taxes, most places in the world. And maybe if you like are a resident in the Grand Caymans, maybe not, or Cayman Island. But otherwise, you'd pay about 50% in taxes, even in a place with low taxes. And so your income is actually $500,000 a year. That's point number one. If you're a business owner and your business income, so your business generates $1 million a year, your take-home personal income is only $100,000 a year if you are doing healthy accounting. But you can process a lot of expenses through your business. So if I don't do this, but like you could, if you want to like get a nice apartment and say I work from home, you could make the nice apartment a business expense because you work from home as a business owner. So your housing payment goes as business expenses, not from your personal income. So that's point number one, is that it depends on your status. If you're a business owner, your take-home net is $100,000 a year, and if you're a corporate employee, your take-home net is $500,000 a year. Secondly, most men who earn $1 million a year work a lot. Like, that's all they do. When they're not working, they're either at the gym if they care about their health. If they don't, I would just avoid these kind of men, because one day their lack of paying attention to their health is going to catch up with them. They end up dying of heart attacks. It's very, very common. And they have early deaths. So I think that's just too high risk in a husband. And so I would avoid an unhealthy man who earns $1 million a year. But either they're at work, or if they work from home, they're like on their laptop, or they are sleeping, because $1 million brain needs a lot of rest, or they are at the gym. They don't socialize, they don't have lives, they don't have hobbies. Their hobby is work and making $1 million a year. And finally, they tend to be completely emotionally unavailable. Now, I really wish that I could just drop some names right now, because I have so many names of like real live men. You can go and see on their Instagrams how emotionally frozen they are. Like, forget emotions, that's not even a word. And many of them will go on social media and say, yeah, I don't have emotions. Like, I just don't feel anything. Publicly. So I'm not making this up. They don't have emotions. If you're sad, they'll be like, whatever. If you have your period and you're sobbing, they will not notice. They'll be at work. If you're lonely, they'll be like, deal with it. If you're stressed, they'll be like, so what? These men are not emotionally available whatsoever. And so my student who wanted $1 million husband, I told her, I was like, $1 million husband, generally speaking, he's not emotionally available at all. She's like, oh, it's fine, because she's never met an emotionally available man in her life. Like, she had never met one, so she didn't have a concept of what it could be like. But I can tell you, both from personal experience and from observing it working with men, is that when you're around emotionally unavailable men, it is deeply lonely, and that loneliness makes you bitter and resentful. And it also, like, when we women are resentful and lonely, it reduces our fertility, because the body is in a state of tension, and so you cannot, like, you're just much less likely to give birth, because your fertility is not flowing, your energy is not flowing. So that is the next point, is that these men are, generally speaking, emotionally unavailable, because they just work all the time. They don't make time for fun, most of them. And like, as a business owner myself, I have to schedule fun on my calendar in advance to make sure that I don't work too much. It's like pretty hard, actually. So I do get it. I do understand how they get this way, but also, like, the result is that being married to them is extremely lonely. From the outside, it looks great. In the first few months, or maybe even first couple years of marriage, they might take you out, wine and dine you, nice restaurants, nice holidays, blah, blah, blah. But you'll notice after you're deep in, so maybe 3 years after marriage, you'll start realizing, holy moly, like, this guy and he's a complete stranger. And that is when it hits you how lonely it is. So we talked about what it means to earn $1 million a year. We talked about what it's like to be married to these men. They work a lot, they're emotionally unavailable, and like, if they're not working, they're either working out at the gym, or they're like not looking after their health, which usually leads to early death because of like accumulated stress. And it's just like a very common thing that I see over and over again. And you can also see if you research the lives of millionaires all over the world. Nothing new. I'm not telling you anything new. So the third point is, like, should you marry a man earning $1 million a year? I think this is not a useful question, because it doesn't answer what kind of marriage do I want? What kind of life do I want? And that is the question that you want to ask yourself, especially if you're a high-achieving woman. You value ambition, you value vision, you value a man who takes the lead, takes initiative. Like, you have to focus on what you want first, and then look for the man who can give you that and who wants to give you that. Like, if you want a partner who cares about you and who is affectionate and who has bandwidth to pay attention to your needs, the average guy earning $1 million a year can't give you that. Like, he barely pays attention to his own needs. You are going to be looking after his needs. You are going to be like liaising with all the staff who look after him, and he will fund everything. So you might have beautiful jewelry and beautiful clothes, but your husband will be like a machine, because most men who make $1 million a year operate like machines. Can you have a deeply loving relationship with a man who earns $1 million a year? Absolutely. Like, it does exist. But is that guy also going to be super fit? Probably not. Is that guy, like, if he's not at the gym when he's not working and he's spending time with you, then he's not at the gym, right? So he's not working on his body. And also, it really depends on what your life is like. So if you're also super busy in your career and you have no time to date and you want a man to adapt to your schedule, like, not gonna happen. So my recommendation is not to focus on a guy's income, which in the case of the student, she had this $1 million a year as this arbitrary number, but she had no clue what it meant. And she had no clue what it was like to live with a man who earns $1 million a year. So my strong invitation to you is to first think, what kind of life do I want? What kind of marriage do I want? How much time do I want to spend with my husband on a daily basis? Do I want to have dinner with him every night? Do I want to raise kids that see their father every night, where their father is spending time, at least 2 hours with them per day? So a lot of men who earn $1 million a year are not home most of the year. Like, they're in another city or in another country. They are not home for most of the year. So it means your kid is growing up with an absent parent. Take the example of former President of the United States, who was first a senator, then became the president, and is now New York Times bestselling author. He's a man earning $1 million a year. He's never home. And his wife literally goes on national television and says he's traveling. Because that's what $1 million men do. They are busy. So I hope this video has been helpful to you. If you liked it, please subscribe and like the channel. You can also comment a million below. Just comment the word million, and I'm happy to make more content about being with $1 million man. And I recommend, if you want to find out what kind of income your future husband is going to have, grab my AI tool below. It'll tell you, based on your birth chart, what kind of husband you actually have predicted by your destiny.